I'm going to teach you a little German phrase that was pounded into my head in every scripture class that I ever took. So it's just a little German phrase because the Germans first came up with this, and so we had to keep using German. So it's sitz im Leben. Got it? Sitz im Leben. Now, you're a scripture scholar. You can say, I was wondering about the sitz im Leben the other day, and I thought there's actually several sitz im Lebens. So that means it's the setting, the live setting. So the setting in which the scripture takes place, or the sitz im Leben Kirche, that's later when the church wrote it all down, what was going on there, because you could only ask of Scripture what was possible. You can't ask it questions that it doesn't know. So the sitz im Leben for today's gospel, when the guy says, are there many who are saved? Most of us do the sitz im Leben of today, not the sitz im Leben of Jesus. Because we say, the guy's asking how many are getting to heaven. How many are saved? Because that's what we think. We say, it's about how many get to heaven. No. Because Jesus hasn't died yet. He hasn't risen. We don't know this. This guy doesn't know it. He doesn't come and think, I know what's going to happen. I know you're on your way to Jerusalem. You're going to be crucified. You're going to rise, and you'll bring about salvation for the human race. Do a lot of us get to go to heaven? No. He thinks Jesus might be the Messiah. So he's talking about an earthly salvation. How many are going to be in your kingdom when you get rid of the Romans? Get rid of those guys who are bullying us. Make them go away. And then there'll be a lot of us, like in your kingdom. Can I be in the palace with you? Because you'll be like the king, and everything will be wonderful. How many of us get to come along? And Jesus doesn't answer the question. He really pokes the guy to pay attention to Jesus. And he uses the image that he uses frequently throughout the Gospels, because he tells us other times, he is the gate. He is the door. He is the way. If you're going to come through the narrow door, that door is Jesus. No other door. But people choose other doors. And to this guy particularly, because he's being bullied by the Romans, I would guess there's probably 3 possible doors. There's the door of just surrendering to the Romans and whatever they want, that the Romans get. And so we'll just surrender, we give in to their ways because they're the ones in charge. Or we fight. We'll fight back and we'll be violent. Or we run away. Just hide away from them. Those are the wide paths that people choose, and Jesus is saying no. Actually, Jesus is ignoring that whole situation. No. Because that's not the kingdom he came to build. His kingdom is not of here. He tells us that over and over again. But then he's also dealing with the issue of, do you just have to be Jewish? Because that might have been the question that was underlying the guy's thinking. Okay, you're the Messiah, we're all Jews, we all get in. And Jesus, again, pokes the guy and says, hey, you know what? There's going to be a lot of people get in. Lots and lots of people. They're going to come from the east and the west, from the north and the south, and they get in. And you might be too late unless you have followed Jesus' way. You might miss it. So a little poke. So that's the sitz in Leben. So what's it for you and for me? If that was a message and a discussion that took place 2,000 years ago, why did the church put it in there? What is the sitz in Leben Kirche? What is the message for you and for me? Jesus pokes this guy. And so maybe he's poking us. What is the wide road that you and I take most of the time? What is the easy way that we tend to fall into, rather than choosing the way that Jesus would do it? For it's in choosing Jesus and knowing him that we enter that door. It may not be the easiest way, which is why he says strive. Strive to follow him. Strive to use Jesus' way rather than the easy ways. And he pokes you and I, as he does to this guy. It's not enough to say, you saw Jesus once in a while, you heard his word, you knew him from a distance. Not enough. And he pokes the guy to say, don't wait too long. And so he may poke us that way too. It's not about a future thing. It's today. Today we embrace Jesus, know him, follow him. He is the door that leads to life, and there is no other.